Hello and welcome to my voice. Here's a preface. In 2021, I made an animated music video about Alina and the Darkling from Shadow and Bone, and if you have seen that video, you would know that I went through a lot of trouble to get it done. Most of it was self-inflicted. First, the puppet I made was pretty bad. I was still quite new to puppet making, and lineless puppets are a whole different beast. Second, I procrastinated so much that I basically only had 2 weeks to finish the 2.5-minute long video. For comparison, our quota at work is approximately 15 seconds a week, which means for 2 weeks, we get 30 seconds. And I'm not some kind of math whiz, but I'm pretty sure there's a pretty big difference between 2.5 minutes and 30 seconds. So to hit the deadline, I sacrificed the quality of the animation. What I did was passable, but it didn't live up to what I had in mind, and whenever I rewatched it, sure, I felt proud that I actually finished it, but I'm not so proud about how stiff and lackluster the animation itself looks. But what was I going to do? Reanimate the whole video and re-release it? No thanks. But the curiosity did grab me. What would this video look like if I did put a proper amount of work into it? And what if I filmed myself as reference and used it to make my animation better? I'm not sure exactly how that idea came into my mind. If I had to guess, well, there was this shot I did for Oddballs where the main character James had to do a moonwalk. This wasn't specifically in the board, I just wanted to do it for fun, I guess. At first I tried to just animate it off the top of my head because I do, vaguely, know how to do the moonwalk. And it shouldn't be that hard to translate that onto a puppet, right? You see, just because you can imagine it doesn't necessarily mean you can do it. I mean, fellow artists, how many times have you imagined a beautiful, majestic, perfectly rendered piece of art, but when you actually went to draw it, it just didn't look like that? It goes the same for animation too. But this is where references come in. I googled a moonwalk tutorial, paused it at the key poses, and matched the puppet to them. And this made animating the shots so fast and easy that it made me wonder why I even spent so long trying and failing to create the moonwalk off the top of my head. There shouldn't be any shame in using references. When I was new to making my own art, I felt like using references was cheating, but that's just a losing way of thinking. Use references, Google some pictures, go to life drawings, do some still life. Sometimes I take pictures of myself in the mirror and use that. This will help you become a better artist because every time you use a reference, you are training yourself to understand how arms bend, how folds look, how a face looks in certain directions, and eventually you will come to a time where you can draw these things without looking at references that much because now you understand them, and that is learning, not cheating. Sorry, that was a whole thing. Anyway, I think part of me wanting to use references for this Alina video is because of those videos you see of classic Disney movies set right beside their live-action reference footage, and those videos that the Avatar creators made to showcase what they wanted from the animators. I just really wanted to try it, but I still wasn't about to reanimate the whole Alina video, so I just chose this one shot. I chose this one because it's something of an outburst, and it's probably the shot that requires the most emotion and physicality, and then I recorded myself for a live-action reference. Now please kindly forget you ever saw that video. Except, no, I need to use this video to explain what I'm doing. Ugh. Hello and welcome to my Harmony file. So here, as you can see, I have my Alina animation scene open and I have my reference video imported. So, even just from this first frame, you can tell a lot of things. Posing in general is very stiff and just like too many straight lines. And it's just not very organic or flowing. Just looking at my pose here, right? You can kind of see the shoulder above my arms to really sell the, how tense my posture is. So we would have to change her posture to somewhat match that at least. Because the shoulders are raised this way, right? We need to make her embellishments on her coat match as well. So we'll just quickly mark down. This needs to also kind of tilt up a little. Okay, next keyframe I would say is this arms down frame. I don't like looking at myself. You can see that I'm facing slightly this way. I think it's nice to add some variation to which direction she's facing to just make it look, again, less stiff and more lively. Here you can see my arms are going way back, whereas in here, and there is a very slight bow, very slight curve, so we could do that. I think my chest will curve this way so that there is a bit of a contrast from the first pose. You see this is going up and this is not going down. This arm could also have a bit of a curve to it. And if you want to sell that the arms are going backwards instead of just straight down, you could just add like a little bit of perspective, make it thinner towards the bottom. Expression is always hard. She looks more sad than in anguish. I would, based on whatever expression I'm making here, I would bring it down a little. Okay, so we got 2 poses down. Just in general, in this part, in the reference video, I had my whole body shifting when I say smile. Whereas in the video, she just kind of has a very slight movement, and that is kind of a cheat that I have. Now that I have the chance to redo it, I would add whatever I was doing in this video. So I raise my shoulders, drop it back down along with my arms. I would add all that here. And here you can see I shake my head. That is something I will also have to add. Timing is not really that important right now. I just want to get the poses to be more extreme and less stiff and conforming to whatever crappy puppet I made. Just trying to push the puppet as far as it can go. So here, my arm goes way over my head. And in my puppet, it just goes like this. I mean, I think this makes sense because I don't want to cover her face. But let's just try it. Let's find the apex of this motion, this pose. Her face, first of all, the angle will have to be way down, and because of this terrible puppet, it's really hard to move the head down in front of the body. As you can see, it gets cut, and if I move the whole face forward, it actually brings the hair with it, and that is just a bad puppet design problem that I have. So I think that's probably one of the reasons I didn't make her head go so down. Even if I had thought of it, I couldn't do it because the puppet was bad. If you want to push it anyway without moving the head down, you can see that the forearm is going above the upper arm. So that's something that we can do, right? Again, try to avoid these straight lines, make it curved so that it looks less like a puppet. I think I would move her face, the crosshairs of her face down so that she's facing way down. Even if I don't have to move her head, I could at least move her face. Because the shoulders are raised now, you would also, again, move this so that the body matches what the shoulders are doing. And then last key pose is this one, arms outstretched. You see the way my face is going all the way up. So I would try to also match that here. And just generally try to make her more angry because she just looks really resigned right now, and that's not the vibe. Because I didn't use a reference in the first pass of this animation, I didn't really understand how much tension she should have in her body like you see in this video. The tension doesn't mean that her arm is going to be like stretched all the way out. It means that she's going to be clenching, right? So her arm again is going to have that slight bend to it, like she wants to, I don't know, like pull the world apart. Yeah, that's just really quick drawovers about what I need to change. That's it for now. Going back to voiceover Emily. So now that I've finished those drawovers, it is now time to match the puppets to the drawings. And because I basically changed every key pose, it means that I have to delete all the in-between frames. You can see why I didn't want to do this for the whole video. Once I fixed the key poses, I went in and added those extra poses in the middle, and once that was all done, it looked something like this. And here it is compared to the first version. At work, this is what we call a posing pass, and we would submit this to our supervisor to be approved before we moved on to animation. And since I am my own supervisor here, I call it approved. I've gotten a few questions about how to animate a puppet, how to get from one pose to another without it looking super tween and puppety. Here are my 2 personal base methods. First is what I call the 4-3 method, but I guess more accurately, it's the 6-4 method. I use this for motions that require a big overshoot and settle. So let's take this first part as an example. Her arms need to come down fast, and the momentum of the motion is going to cause an overshoot and a settle. So the first keyframe is here. We're going to place the second keyframe on the 6th frame, and and 4 frames after that, hit F6 to create another keyframe. So now we have our titular 6-4, but you might have noticed the last 2 keyframes are exactly the same, and that's because we're going to change the middle one into an overshoot frame. Consider the first frame and determine what an overshoot is going to entail. Since her arms are coming down, that means they'll shoot lower before settling into the last keyframe. And since her head is going upward, her head and facial features will have to tilt up before settling, stuff like that. And I put all those changes into that middle overshoot frame. I'll also change some other stuff like the bend of her arms or the shape of her eyebrows, just whatever I think would create more contrast to the final settled pose. And once that is done, I tween those frames by hitting Ctrl K or this button up here, and we'll get this very basic tweened animation. To add ease-ins and ease-outs, I don't use the graph editor because in the studio, you're not the only person who has to touch your shot. Revisions and effects and compositing will have to get in there too, and it's a huge hassle to have vital information hidden away in the graph editor. So we have everything in the timeline where it's easy to see and edit. So to add ease-ins, I drag the frame out like this, and to add ease-outs, I do the same on the opposite end. I really don't know how else I can explain this. Here's a drawing I made. I hope that makes sense. You can put as many ease-ins and outs as you want, and usually, as you can see here, to create a softer cushion, I just drag the last frame out and add another ease-out. Let's take a look at the animation so far. Okay, it's a little better. If I'm happy with the overall motion, now I go in and make adjustments. Add a bit of drag to the hands as they come down, add some delay and follow through on the hair, and sometimes I'll put the arms and head on a longer, softer settle just so not every part of the puppet is stopping at the same time. Let's look at the animation again. Hey look, we're getting somewhere. And when I'm happy with this, I'll put a keyframe through every other frame using F6, starting from the back. Then I highlight the whole thing and put it all on stop motion using this button or Ctrl L. And this effectively puts the animation on 2s, meaning it runs on 12 keyframes per second instead of 24. This gives it a more hand-drawn stop motion-esque look. It kind of tricks you into thinking it's not a puppet. And it also just makes animation so much easier. Oh, okay, that was a huge long explanation. Luckily, my next method is much simpler. This is what I call the 5 method, but actually it's an 8. I don't know why numbers get so weird in my head. This is the 8 method, let's just call it that. You put the second keyframe on the 8th frame, tween it, add 1 ease in and 2 ease out. Yeah, that's it. Of course, like with the previous method, I will add tweaks to it, but this is the base of it. There's a method I discovered while on Last Kids where if you offset the head animation by 2 frames, it adds some variation that looks super cool, but it's actually super easy. It doesn't always work, but in this case, it does. So those are my 2 base methods. I have a few other tips and tricks up my sleeves, but honestly, this video is getting way too long. So anyway, I animate the rest of my sequence like this. Sometimes I put the cushioning keyframes on 3s, and that gives it an extra jagged, chunky look that I really like. After that, I do the lip syncing, which I do via drawing swaps instead of a fully rigged mouth. And now, here's the grand reveal. Wow, okay, let's watch it a few more times, and now with a comparison to the old version. When watching the new version on its own, I find myself thinking, is this even good? Did anything even change? But when watching it side by side, it's like, yeah, something definitely changed. I still think I probably could have pushed a bit farther, but even as is, it's a lot more emotive and a lot more physical than the original. Her expression shows more anger than just straight up plain sadness, and if you look at the original, you can see how still she is compared to the new one, where she's putting her whole body into it. It's better, I'm proud of it. And just for fun, here's all of that compared to my reference video. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe it was even educational. And now I'm just hoping I can channel this energy for my next project. Bye bye!